I want him to just attack your alliance, and you need to get on Discord and be like, guys, we need all hands on deck for the next 3 hours. Let's go.
Oh man, so many alliance leaders just hate you for even putting that idea into Scopely's mind. Scopely's like, we have a ping button to get people to go on the game. Let's do this. Tulip says, I no longer like Mongooli for that idea.
Oh, I accept.
Dang it. So my guest today is Dan Mongooli of The Mongooli Show. He's here to talk to you guys about himself a little bit, brag about what he likes. What's that?
Sorry. I hate to interrupt you while you're doing that. It's Dan or Mongooli, not both.
Oh, I thought your last name was Mongooli and you were just Dan Mongooli.
No, Mongooli is just a nickname.
Where do you get the Mongooli from?
I mean, we can get into that during the actual interview. I'm sure you don't want to use the intro you just made as your actual intro.
No, screw it. Let's keep this one. I like it.
All right,
go ahead.
Mongooli, I was senior year of high school, introduced to a couple of new friends, and they're like, oh, we're going to go introduce you to this guy. And I'm like, okay. And he had a bit of a rougher past. He was one of those guys who was like always on something. So when I met him, he was laying on the floor. I walk up to him. I'm like 6.5 feet tall, 300 something pounds. And he's like, holy shit, it's a Mongooli. And it just kind of stuck. Like, nobody calls me that in real life, but like every time a video game is like, hey, what name are you? I'm like, Mongooli, sure. Diablo characters, everything. So when it was time to make this channel up, I was like, well, it's going to be Mongooli. I have no idea how, because it's a nonsense word, but somebody already had Mongooli. So I was like, all right, well, I need to figure something else out. Went with the Mongooli Show, and it's hitting, so we're going with it.
I like it. I think it's a fantastic name. Thank you for correcting me, because I genuinely just thought that was like your last name. And when you told me I could go ahead and use your first name, Dan, I just made the assumption. So we're learning things already.
I've been calling myself Dan on stream anyways. Like, well, I didn't necessarily want to give that away, but I've said it so many times where I'm just like berating myself. So like, oh, good job, Dan, you idiot.
Right.
Like, oh, shoot. Now all right, whatever. Everybody's my name now. Whatever.
Right. At this point, I'm just trying to keep my social security number off the airwaves. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So you make content for Marvel Strike Force. How long have you been making content for Marvel Strike Force?
So I actually have been making content since October 3rd, 2022. It's weird to know the exact date, but the reason I do is because it just happens to be the day before my birthday. Not on purpose. It was not like, oh, I need to start making content before I'm 40 kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. It just happened that way. So I just get to know the exact date, which is kind of fun. So that puts me at like just over a year, 14 months, somewhere in that range.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. What, now, what led you to start making content for Marvel Strike Force? Or did you start making content for something else?
So I bought, right before COVID happened, I was getting the idea to get a podcast going with a couple of friends, doing like movie content, stuff like that, talking about things that are coming out, just stuff that interests us that we didn't really have a way to discuss. Like I say friends, but we weren't people that hung out on the weekends kind of thing. We were just kind of like co-workers who knew each other. Mm-hmm. Wanted to have a way to get things out more for our own personal interest than because we'd have a ton of followers, obviously. But I ended up buying like cameras, the green screen, stuff like that. And then COVID hit and we all kind of just stopped hanging out with each other. So I just had all this equipment lying around that I was doing nothing with. I did try and do Twitch one point for like Magic the Gathering. And I fell out of love with the game before I fell into a community. So I kind of stopped. And then I started playing Marvel Strike Force, was in a pretty fun alliance, really liked the people over there, but we were doing really poorly at really easy events. Like what's the ISO 8 one that you do as an alliance? It's not there anymore, but it used to be called with 2 C words.
I don't know. Everybody hates it though.
Exactly. But we were failing at that even, because like I think half my alliance didn't even realize that it was happening. Mm-hmm. And so like my very first video, it's still on YouTube and it's awful, is just me literally talking to my alliance mates. I think I even say like, hey, if anybody else finds this, great, but this is for the beginner's luck people. And I just walked them through like, this is how you should do this event. This is how much you need to do. This is how much you need to do every day. We can do this, guys. And it's just like a pump up video. Like we had a Discord server, so I posted it there. Didn't expect it to go anywhere. And it got, I mean, okay, very, very small numbers, let's be honest, but it got like 80 or something views, and I was expecting like 4. So I was like, oh, okay, let's do that again. And it just kind of went and snowballed from there.
Oh, yeah. It's
So
coordinated
it wasn't
assault.
like I want
Thanks.
to become a big content creator. It was just like, I want my alliance to do better. I want better rewards.
Right. I think a lot of us kind of started out with our alliance, right? We had those 23 other people pushing, and we're either frustrated with them or just wanted to help them or whatever. And I hear that a lot from content creators is I was just trying to help my alliance. That's a coordinated assault there from Anti-Valor. Thank you.
Thank you, Divine.
Now, so you started playing MSF a while ago. You started helping your alliance. Now you're making some content. Before you started making content, you seem to be enjoying the game, right? I mean, obviously you're making content for it, so you must have enjoyed it at some level. What were some of your favorite things about Marvel Strike Force? What are your favorite things about Marvel Strike Force? What draws you to the game?
To be honest, sorry, long pause. The biggest draw to the game at this point is the community itself. It is a fun game. I do enjoy it, but like I'm in a really active alliance at the moment. Shout out to the Odin's Rejects, who are part of the We Proud Few cluster or whatever. I really like my alliance mates. I like hanging out with them. I have found a lot of fun on Twitch and streaming here and stuff like that. And it's kind of more fun just having. I live in the middle of nowhere. All of my friends live probably at least 45 minutes away. So like having access to a social network that is active and lively, that doesn't require me to drive 2 hours is a huge draw. As far as in-game content goes, I am definitely not a perfectionist, but like a collector. So the getting all of my characters up to 7 stars is more of a draw for me than winning Cosmic Crucible with a perfect score, which honestly, I don't even know what a perfect score is in Cosmic Crucible. But that's kind of more my draw. Now, recently I've started shifting because to get the better rewards, to get the more shards, you kind of do need to start playing significantly stronger. So I am trying to worry less about shards and more about gear and build my characters up to a higher level. But as far as what drives me mentally, it's just having every character unlocked, having them all at 7 stars, 7 red stars if I can. That's kind of the driving force behind what I like to do in this game.
So the collection, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you live out in the middle of nowhere. How did you find yourself out in the middle of nowhere? I don't want to release where you live or anything, but you know, tell me, where did you grow up and your story essentially? Like, who is the Mongooli?
Bit of a wildebeest. No. So unfortunately, I was reading that question. It's like, I don't know how much I want to answer that. I grew up in the small town that I live in currently.
Oh,
so
okay.
We'll leave names.
Lifer, all right.
I moved out to find a wife and then brought her back with me. It was one of those situations where I got out of the small town into the big town, was like, I am never going back. That's not happening. Found a wife, got married. We were like, we both want to have kids. She grew up in a different part of the country, but also in a small town. So both of us being small town people were like, okay, we want to probably not raise our kids in the city. Probably want to go to a small town. And I was like, anywhere but. And then the more we looked at small towns, the more it was like, well, the town that I grew up in does have this, it does have that. My parents are still there. And we went looking at houses kind of against my will and found the house that we're in now and like just fell in love almost instantly with it. And we're like, damn it, I guess we're moving back. So that's why I'm here. So like 30 of my 40 years roughly have been spent in this small town. Not a whole lot else to say on that. That's a little bit drier. But as far as who Mongooli is, I'm 41, 42. I don't know. Early 40s. Family, got 3 kids.
We stopped counting after about 38. It just feels depressing.
You hit 40 and you're just like, whatever.
That's good enough. Can't fit any more candles on that cake.
That's all I really care about. I can bug my wife because she's a little older than I am, and that's good enough for me. So it's easier to answer quick questions, I guess. But.
So what is your favorite part about going live? on stream.
Ooh.
Because you have your YouTube content, which was primarily where you kind of started, right? You started doing videos, but we've kind of nagged you to go live a lot more recently. So when you go live, what do you enjoy there?
Honestly, thank you so much for doing it, because Twitch is an absolute blast. I really do enjoy it, but the first couple of times, and every now and then, I get, I hate to say anxiety, but I get real nervous before hitting that go live button, right? I don't know what service you use, but like I use OBS, and it's like you hit start streaming, and it's like, are you sure? And I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea. Like, but once you're live and that first person comments, and you're just like, okay, I have somebody to talk to. Like I can carry, hopefully, I can carry a conversation very, very well if somebody is even remotely engaging with me. But when you have no chat happening and you're just playing your war battles or whatever, my brain just starts spiraling. Like, what am I talking about? What should I do next? What should I say? I need to say something. Dead air is awful. It's the end of this channel. Like, I need to have something to say. So honestly, if you are lurking, even a hello, like you'd be surprised how much content you can get from somebody with a weird name or a new person to your channel or something, just saying, hey, how are you doing today? Like, just literally pointing you in any direction can be a huge help.
Yeah.
So I again, like to bounce off the answer I already had, like the community is my favorite part about going live. Like people who have seen my channel know I'm not that good at this game. Like if you want tips and tricks on how to play this, there's like the Purple Stickies and the Dorky Dads and the Mr. Heartgraves out there who are like, they've got this dialed in. I'm sure there's a bunch more that I'm leaving out, and I apologize for that. I try and make an entertaining stream, and people seem to be having a good time when they're hanging out over there, so that's great. But I just like hanging out with the community. Like,
yeah, well, I think
hate to keep going back to it.
I think the community enjoys hanging out with you. That's the whole point. Is we follow content creators to hang out with them, and of course our friends that show up in the stream, and we can make fun of Rello in chat or whatever. So
Rello was the first person today to actually give me a donation, but there was a stipulation attached to it, right? To take 5 shots in a row. So I apologize if I'm a little bit off today.
Got loose before the interview, did you? All right.
Might have.
You say that you have a hard time doing things without chat interacting with you, and your brain spins out of control. But your YouTube content is amazing. You have such great production value. You do such a good job of honing those videos down to the relevant information and making them easy to digest. It seems effortless from my perspective. Tell me about your YouTube content and making those videos. Like, what's your trick for getting one of those? Because you do a lot of event videos. You say you're avoiding strategy videos because you're not that good at the game, but you're fantastic at these event videos, breaking those things down. So tell me about that. What do you do to get started on one of those videos?
Lots of editing. That was the biggest trick to get used to with going on Twitch, is like, oh, this is all live and whatever I say is just out there. If I make a regular, like let's say the weekly blog, right? I'm probably spending 40 minutes or so just reading over it, making sure I kind of understand the information. I'll go through the charts and just kind of write down the overall numbers, because I don't want to mess up the math live, and like basic numbers, like how many of the monthly items are you going to get, right? Like just super basic stuff. But I want to have that access available to me so that when I do record, it's right there handy for me. Then I'll record, and I'll probably do like 4 or 5 takes of the intro. And then once I get a good flow going, I tend to just, like, if you watch my videos, probably the intro and the first like 2 or 3 minutes, you'll notice a lot of cuts as I'm editing out nonsense or misspeaking. And then once I start talking, it kind of just comes more and more naturally. And it's like, okay, so by the end of the video, it's pretty much one take. But to get to that point is a lot of editing.
Right.
And yeah, it's like, if I can get... my problem with making videos for the events is, like, let's say, I don't know what events have been happening right now. I was away for the weekend, so I'm not up to date on what's going on.
Some sort of an X-Force Frosty event or something going on?
Yeah, like you have to do Wars and Cosmic Crucible battles.
Yeah.
Now, we knew about that as of Friday, so I could have made that video anytime over the weekend, assuming that I was home. My problem is, you're going to get more views by being first, right? Like, there's that whole, if you're not first, you're last. I'd rather be accurate than first.
Right.
And you're not going to find out a lot of what's happening in those events until they go live. Like, how many milestone points are they going to give you for free every single day? What is the ratio if it's one of the events you have to do campaign energy for? Like, what ratio are you going to actually get those rewards for? I'd rather have that information entirely and make the video 12 hours after the event has started than 2 days before the event is going to start. I know that hurts my numbers and my bottom line, but if you're going to watch my videos, I'd rather you know everything than have me be like, well, I think it's going to be this, and then I'm wrong.
And you do have the advantage that you are not an envoy, so you don't get the misinformation ahead of time and pre-record your video and then have to run a retraction. So you're working off of in-game information, which is much better than that. You start off lots of editing with your videos, and then you start to get into a role with it, and you do some prep work, just reading through and understanding it. Are you like me? Do you get kind of excited when you hit upload, and you kind of wonder?
So I don't know if you've got YouTube Studios on your phone. I have to assume that you do.
Yeah.
It is the best and absolute worst thing for me. Because
I know what you mean.
You hit upload and you're just like, okay, and now we wait. And like, I'm at the point now, it took a long time to get here, but I'm at the point now where I'll generally get like a couple of views like almost instantly. And you're just like, okay, yes, we're good. You just get that first couple of likes in there. You get like, you hit those little milestones in your brain and you're just like, oh, thank goodness. And like that dopamine hit is so addictive, but also sometimes that dopamine hit doesn't come, right? Like you put a video out and it just doesn't hit the way you're hoping it will. And it's just that like, I'm not going to lie. It's not for the betterment of me. I have lost sleep because of that stupid app on my phone where I'm just like 2 a.m. and checking my phone. Just like, oh, I have new subscribers, new things. It's like, just put it away, dude. Just put it away and go to sleep. Like it can be brutal. Yesterday and jumped up to 499 subscribers. And it was just that like waiting all day at work. I don't get self-subscription at work, so I have to like go to a special area of the building to check my phone. And I probably checked it like 6 times that day, just like waiting for that 500 mark. Get home from work, it's still 499. And by the time I'm going to bed, it's down to 498. I'm like, oh, bitch. We did it on stream today. I'm over 500 at the moment, which is like, I mean, still super small, but it's a nice milestone to have. So that was fun to hit live, but it was just that like, really?
Okay, what do you do aside from MSF and content? Like, I mean, I don't need to know super personal stuff. What are your hobbies? What do you enjoy?
So the two that come to mind right away is I'm a big movie fanatic. I've got a bunch of movie posters in the other room. I try and get caught up on classics and stuff like that, but my wife is more of a modern thing. So we watch a lot of like Netflix movies and stuff like that. Stuff that is fun, but kind of forgettable. I have it was like a Facebook buy like a couple of years ago. It's taken me way longer to go through it than I thought it would, but like a scratch off poster. It's like the 100 movies everybody needs to watch, like a bucket list kind of a thing.
Oh yeah? How many of those 100 have you scratched off?
So I could have scratched off about 68 of them before I even bought the poster, but I told myself, no, like I'm going to watch all of these again. Cause I saw Casablanca when I was like 12. Right. I don't think that counts. Right. So like, I was like, no, I'm going to start from scratch. I have to watch all of them over again. I think I'm in the 60s at the moment. And there's a couple of them where I'm like, I don't even know how I'm going to access them. Like I have no idea where to find Modern Times, which is like a Charlie Chaplin movie from like, I think just after sound movies were invented. So like it's going back a little ways. Right. But then it's got more modern stuff like Fight Club and, you know,
everybody needs to see that one,
right? Like that. Yeah. I think so. I think it's a good one. So that's a fun project that I have been working on. But as far as other hobbies go, I took up golf very briefly for like 1 season, thoroughly enjoyed it, and then completely wrecked both of my shoulders last winter. So I'm working through getting that fixed up, but I have not been able to do that, unfortunately. My other big hobby is I play a game called Marvel Crisis Protocol. It's a little miniatures game. It's kind of like Warhammer, but instead of having a full army, you've only got like 4 to 6 characters on the board at a time. So you can be like Spider-Man, the Hulk, Captain America, stuff like that. And I have a fairly local group who enjoys playing that. We go around to tournaments and such and have done quite well with that. So that's a lot of fun. Painting them, building them, playing with them, like, you know,
I know a lot of people in chat that are into the miniature scene.
I saw that Zero Cool Gaming and a couple others had a talk about the Marvels when it came out, and I was like, dude, like, invite me in on that. Like,
right?
amazing.
Yeah. So miniatures and movies. Do you have time to do those things, making content for MSF though? Because I know this game has a lot of screen time, and when you add in all the editing that you have to do for the videos that you make, and then of course getting on stream and everything. Do you find it time consuming? Is it stressful?
Oh, yeah, 100%. When I first started, because it was so low key, I was making maybe like one video a week, like just kind of doing the weekly blog. And it didn't feel so bad. It took my Friday night, maybe my Saturday morning, and that was pretty much it. Now that I'm starting to do Twitch, I usually do Twitch Saturday mornings, by the way, and maybe I'll pop up here and there, but Saturday mornings is kind of my go-to. It's addictive, right? Like you start recording on Twitch, and like I've had streams where like I saw Ben Dibble Straw is going for like 7 hours one time. I was like, how do you do that? And then I got into a role, and it was like 7 hours. I'm like, oh, that's okay, fair enough. Like when there's an active chat, it just kind of happens. Yeah. Like it definitely wasn't something planned. So I had to sign off, went upstairs, and my wife's like, did you have a good time? I'm like, I really did. Like I was like, I absolutely did. My kids are like, can you eat? Like, I want to hang out with you. I'm like, yeah, no, that's fair. I've pretty much said Sundays, I will not touch the computer no matter what. That is just going to be family time. I need to get better with that throughout the week. Like if I can come up with a schedule, whether it be for YouTube, whether it be for Twitch, where it's like, okay, I'm going to do computer time on these 3 days, and the other 4 days are like family time, me time, whatever. I need to get better with that. That's definitely a skill that I need to progress with. Because even like as much as I love this, and as much as I enjoy making the content, whether it be YouTube or Twitch, it's not downtime, right? So like I want to play, like I bought Spider-Man 2 the day it came out. I still haven't beaten it. And I want to have time to just sit and do that. I want to have time to hang out with my friends. I want to have time to paint a miniature. But it's just that weird thing in the back of your head where you're just like, you should be recording. Like you need to get a video out. You need to be doing something more productive than playing a video. You need to be playing a video game, not, playing a video game. It's a weird mindset to try and get used to and try and get over.
As you take streaming from hobby to profession, as you start to transition and you really push for growth and for metrics and for revenue and sort of thing, it becomes more of a job. And it's sometimes we lose sight of the fun of streaming and gaming, and you have to kind of revert. But other times you know that you need to put in a certain amount of hours, you need to produce a certain amount of content. It needs to come out at a certain level of quality that you're happy with. And so it becomes very time consuming, very challenging, and it's a very delicate balance, especially with family. Does any of your family play Marvel Strike Force?
Oh my, no. I had my kids play video games to some extent, but they don't usually stick with them long enough to get very far. The best I've done is I got my family entirely into Stardew Valley.
Okay.
Because of course you can play it 4 players. I don't know if you're familiar with it at all. But it's like a farming simulator game. You can play 4 players. My wife even got into that, which I take as a huge accomplishment, because other than Rock Band, I don't think I've ever seen her touch a controller or play a video game at all. So that's just not something she's interested in. That's fine, but it's unfortunate. But cell phone games, Marvel Strike Force, hard pass. Absolutely not. I'm trying to get the kids, they'll play board games with me. Sorry, that's another thing on the hobbies list, is the wall behind me when it's not green screen is just all board games and comic books. They'll play board games with me. There's a new Disney card game called Lorcana. It's kind of like Magic the Gathering, but with Disney characters. My twins really enjoy that one. Things like that they'll do, but Marvel Strike Force, absolutely not. And in all fairness, I can't recommend it to them.
Right.
It's my addiction.
Isn't that like, weird that so many of us like bag on this game, but here we are. We never recommend it to our friends, but we're always talking about it and continue playing it.
I think I'm going to give the credit to Doolam, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think Doolam said in one of your chats, like, the Marvel Strike Force isn't addictive, the community is addictive.
And maybe, credit where credit is due. I think it's kind of improving recently, so I think that's good. 100%. We've got features like drag and drop, and I don't know, I can't think of anything else that really excites me, but drag and drop was amazing.
The Sinister 6 rework.
Okay.
If I can go on the rails for 2 seconds, the Sinister 6 rework is one of the most exciting things in this game for what could be the future of the game. Like, if this is something they're going to keep doing, and I know they just did the Extreme X-Men, and we haven't heard anything about them doing a full X-Men rework that I'm aware of, but like, bringing out new characters that you're going to spend money on, reworking other characters that go in that team, but then reworking a bunch of characters to give you sub options so you can trade things in and out. Like, not to plug myself, but like I just made a video a little while ago about how to get the most out of Superior 6 and Sinister 6 by splitting them up into 2 separate teams.
Right.
And the comments on that have been like, well, I do it with these teams and I do it with these teams. And that was unheard of 6 months ago. Like, you would build whatever team they told you to build, and that was the best team, period. So the fact that we now have 10 members that can be interchangeable to make strong teams, and if they do the X-Men, it could be like 20 members that could be interchangeable to make strong teams. I think that's a huge sign for what the future could be. It could also be a one-off, and like everything after this goes straight back to that like 5-person team. But
I don't think so.
To be hopeful.
Yeah, I don't think so, because we saw that with Photon, right? That was like the first step. Photon could be subbed out to a different team. It was written into her kit, and people were like, "That's great," because we want to sub off somebody from the team. So that's great. And Doctor Strange already had someplace else to go, so that wasn't such a big deal. And they kind of knew somebody was going, so they didn't even bother wasting their time making Doctor Strange any better. But then, like you said, we had the Sinister Six, and it's amazing. And we have heard some plans about tweaks to the X-Men for some of the sub characters for War and other game modes. Hopefully they'll expand on it and make everybody on the X-Men get at least a little tweak or a stat boost or something, because this was great. They're really bringing back that fun and interchangeability where we get to play the game the way we want to play the game instead of the cookie cutter nonsense. So we kind of got to wrap this up a little bit. I just want to know, what are your plans for your content in the future? Do you want to stick with Marvel Strike Force until the end of time? Or are you hoping to pick up a different game? Do you want to take on some sort of live streaming? Do you have any ideas of what you want to do with your content?
A while ago, I made a secondary YouTube channel, which was a terrible idea because it's way too small to be trying to focus on 2 separate things. There was like Mongooli's movie show, I think it was. And I was doing like trailer reactions and like things like that. And it was a fun side hobby because it didn't require the same level of prep work or stress about it. It was literally just my opinion, right? Like I could just go live and just talk. I did an episode with my brother, and that one went over well enough. He went home, he lives in a different province, and bought a microphone apparently, and we haven't talked since. So at some point I want to connect with him and see if we can figure out a way to do that live. The nice thing is, now that I am starting to get a bit of a presence online, hopefully I can take some amount of that over to a new channel, or over even the same Twitch channel but with a different tag, and bring some of the audience over there, because it's honestly, most of my channel is just me hanging out. So if it's just me hanging out talking about movies, I have to assume there'd be a decent amount of people who are like, yeah, I'll listen to this guy talk about other stuff. Like, why not? I basically talk about movies while I'm playing Marvel Strike Force anyways. As far as content for Marvel Strike Force goes, I am trying to branch out into beyond just the event videos. So I've got a video out right now about like characters that I think are safe to build to DD6 or beyond, like even kind of working towards DD7, even though that's really far down the road. Like characters that I think will have a little bit more longevity than just right here, right now. We'll see how those videos do. I tried making a video for like characters I'd love to see come to the game, which is Marvel Strike Force related for sure, but not, you know, I've got no insider information. I didn't know any of these characters are coming per se.
Well,
so I just want to get into
can you give me one of those? Can you give me one of those? We'll wait for the video for the rest of them. But what's a pick that you'd like to see come to the game?
The video is out actually. It's been out for about 2 weeks now. My number one. I'll give you 2 super briefly. One character I'd love to see come to the game is Onslaught. He's got his story is awful if you've read the comic books. It's really bad 90s comic book writing, but he's such a badass looking character, and because this game is so much more visual than it is story based, I really want to see him in this game just because I think he looks cool. The other character that I'll spoil is Galactus. Now, when I say that, I do not want to be able to play as Galactus. I don't want him on my roster. I don't want him being the same size as all the other characters. I want him to be a different game mode, and I want him to be fairly different than anything we've seen so far. Maybe kind of like a raid, I guess. I realize I just said something different than we were saying before. But I want Galactus to attack your alliance. I don't want him to be something that we're planning on. I don't be like, okay, Monday at 2 p.m., this is going to go live. I want him to just attack your alliance, and you need to get on Discord and be like, guys, we need all hands on deck for the next 3 hours. Let's go. And it's like panic, like Galactus attacking the Earth would be. Like, right? I want you to have to get your alliance mates and be like, let's get into this. Let's fight this guy. if you don't do well, you don't do well, so be it. If you
I
don't know when it's coming, it's just going to attack you and you're screwed.
I foresee
realize there's
alliance
people out there who
leaders
don't
just
have
pulling their hair
alliances,
out.
who are going to hate this idea. I don't care. I want it.
Oh man, so many alliance leaders just hate you for even putting that idea into Scopely's mind.
But I'm not
Scopely's
one
like,
of them, so who
we
cares?"
have a ping button to get people to go on the game. Let's do this.
I'm in.
Tulip says, I no longer like Mongooli for that idea.
Oh, I accept.
Okay. Well, hey, that's probably plenty of content for this interview. I really appreciate you coming on and hanging out with me, getting to know you and hearing some of your background and what you are planning on doing with your content and how you came to be. So this has been a fun and interesting interview with you, Dan. And if anybody wants to see more of the Mongooli, there will be links in the description to all of his content, Twitch and YouTube. Do you have anything else you're doing, or is it just Twitch and YouTube right now?
It's just Twitch and YouTube at the moment.
Okay, keep it simple. That's the way to go. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I appreciate you guys coming by for our 7 Streams of Christmas interview. I hope you come by and see us in the next one. Bye.